The moment the transmission crackled through the Galactic Council chamber, an uneasy silence gripped the room. The holographic display flickered, revealing Ambassador Rachel Torres, standing firm amidst the chaos. Behind her, Earth's skies glowed faintly under the ominous presence of alien warships. Her voice, steady and laced with quiet menace, reverberated through the vast hall. "If the Council won't intervene," she said, her gaze sharp and unyielding, "fine. We'll handle it." Those 5 words detonated across the galaxy faster than any subspace transmission. Species that once watched humanity with mild curiosity now felt an icy dread seep into their bones. The stories were no longer just whispers and starport shadows. They were warnings. When humans were pushed, they didn't just fight back. They annihilated obstacles with an unmatched tenacity. The Council had underestimated humanity's resolve. Again. It began with the Vronix incursion. The Vronix, a ruthless, hive-minded species from the Orion Cluster's edge, expanded with merciless precision, devouring colonies and enslaving entire planets. When their fleets loomed at humanity's borders, Earth's leaders turned to the Galactic Council. After all, the Unified Defense Pact promised protection. But the Council wavered. Political debates dragged, entangled in bureaucracy and fear of provoking the Vronix. Some members saw humanity as expendable, a convenient buffer. Others believed humans hadn't earned the right to galactic support. They all forgot one crucial fact: humans didn't need rescuing. They needed a reason. When Ambassador Torres' transmission ended, Earth's leaders enacted Protocol Omega. It was a contingency plan whispered about in government halls, a plan that had lived in the shadows waiting for a spark. Within hours, Earth's orbit erupted with activity. Fleets, upgraded with alien tech humanity had quietly reverse-engineered, launched from hidden shipyards. Stealth cruisers cloaked in quantum shadows slipped undetected into Vronix territory. But it wasn't just brute force that humanity wielded, it was ingenuity, the relentless drive to innovate when backed against a wall. Captain Elias Drake, commander of the U.E.S. Resolute, led the first strike. His ship, a marvel of hybrid engineering, bristled with weapons the Council had labeled too dangerous. Humanity had long dismissed such naive restraints. Drake's fleet didn't engage the Vronix, they dismantled them. Using tactics that defied conventional warfare, human forces exploited every weakness, turning the Vronix's hive coordination into their downfall. In under a week, entire armadas were reduced to drifting wreckage, a grim testament to humanity's wrath. Back on Earth, civilians watched the broadcasts with grim solidarity. This wasn't just a fight for survival, it was a message. To the Vronix, to the Council, to the galaxy. Do not mistake our patience for weakness. But the true shock wasn't humanity's defense, it was their offensive. They didn't stop at reclaiming territory. Captain Drake pushed deeper into Vronix space, targeting their core worlds. The Council watched in horror as humans did what no other species dared. They struck at the heart of their enemies. And they didn't stop. The Vronix, once a symbol of terror, faced an enemy they couldn't comprehend. Humans weren't shackled by fear or convention. They fought with a ferocity that stemmed not just from survival, but from an unyielding refusal to be subjugated. By the time the Council called an emergency session, it was too late. The Vronix homeworlds burned, their hives obliterated, their queen's death broadcast galaxy-wide as humanity's final, brutal statement. Yet humanity didn't gloat. They didn't celebrate their victory with parades. They sent one last transmission to the Galactic Council. Ambassador Torres appeared again, her expression unreadable. "Consider this a warning," she said, her voice calm but unyielding. "Next time when we ask for help, remember what happens when we handle it ourselves." The transmission cut, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. The Council chambers, once echoing with endless debates, now rang with a heavy, undeniable truth. Humanity had shifted the balance. They weren't just participants in the galactic community anymore. They were its enforcers. And the galaxy would never be the same. The aftermath of Earth's brutal response sent shockwaves through the galaxy. On distant worlds, species who had once seen humanity as mere upstarts now watched with a new, uneasy respect and fear. The Vronix were supposed to be unstoppable. Their hive-minded coordination had crushed empires far older and more advanced than humanity. But now their worlds smoldered, their fleets were nothing but twisted metal drifting through space, and their queen's death had severed the hive mind, leaving the remaining Vronix drones in disarray. The Galactic Council, once the bastion of interstellar diplomacy, found itself in chaos. Emergency sessions were held daily, but the debates were no longer about how to deal with the Vronix threat. That problem had been eradicated. Now, the Council's discussion centered around a far more pressing question. What do we do about the humans? Ambassador Kthar of the Zygoran Collective, a species known for their calculated logic, was the first to voice what many were thinking. We have underestimated them, he admitted, his voice a low rumble that resonated through the chamber. Their capacity for destruction rivals that of the Vronics, perhaps exceeds it. They are no longer just another member of this council. They are a threat. But not all shared his sentiment. Ambassador Vela of the Elorians, a species renowned for their peaceful philosophies and deep empathy, shook her head. A threat? No. They asked for our help and we ignored them. We forced their hand. They could have stopped, Kthar countered. Once their territories were secure, they could have ceased their advance. Instead they pushed deeper, annihilating the Vronics at their core. That was not defense. That was vengeance. Silence fell over the chamber as the weight of his words settled over the gathered representatives. The truth was undeniable. Humanity hadn't just defended itself, it had sent a message, one written in fire and blood across the stars. Meanwhile, on Earth, the mood was far from triumphant. The broadcasts of the Vronics' downfall played on every screen, but there were no celebrations. Humanity had survived, but at a cost that few could comprehend. The images of burning hives and shattered fleets were accompanied by the faces of lost soldiers, the silent reminders of the price of survival. Captain Elias Drake stood aboard the UES Resolute, staring out at the debris field that had once been a Vronic stronghold. His ship's hull was scarred from the battles, and the crew moved with a weariness that no victory could erase. "We're getting new orders," his first officer, Lieutenant Maris, said quietly, handing him a data pad. Drake glanced at it, his jaw tightening. The orders were clear: return to Earth, stand down and prepare for debriefing. But there was an undercurrent in the message, a tension that spoke of more than just military protocol. Humanity's leaders knew what was coming. The galaxy would not sit idly by. Back in the Galactic Council, the debates raged on. Some called for sanctions against Earth, others for diplomatic isolation. A few even whispered about preemptive strikes, though none dared voice it openly. The humans had proven they could not be underestimated. And then, without warning, Earth made its next move. A new transmission from Ambassador Rachel Torres interrupted the Council's session. She appeared on the central holographic display, her expression calm but her eyes sharp, as if she could see through every layer of their political posturing. "Members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice steady and resolute, "we have handled the Vronics threat. But we are not blind to the whispers that now fill these chambers." The representatives shifted uncomfortably, but no one interrupted. "Let me be clear," Torres continued. "Humanity seeks peace. We desire cooperation and mutual growth within this galaxy. But we will not be intimidated. We will not be threatened. And we will not forget who stood with us, and who stood aside." Her words hung in the air like a blade, sharp and undeniable. "We invite those who wish to build a future together to join us in dialogue. But know this: if you choose hostility, if you choose to see us as a threat, you will learn what it truly means when humans decide to handle things themselves." The transmission ended, leaving the Council in stunned silence. The message was clear. Humanity had opened the door for diplomacy, but it was a door they were fully prepared to close if necessary. Captain Drake returned to Earth a week later, greeted not by parades or accolades, but by a somber assembly of world leaders. The debriefing was swift and to the point. The Council's response was uncertain, but Earth's preparations were not. New alliances began to form, not just out of fear but out of respect. Species who had once dismissed humanity now sought their partnership, recognizing the strength and resolve that lay beneath their surface. But for every ally gained, there were those who plotted in the shadows, wary of the power humanity had demonstrated. It wasn't long before the first test of Earth's new position arrived. A coalition of fringe species, fearful of humanity's rise, launched a surprise assault on a human colony in the Andromeda sector. They believed they could strike quickly, overwhelming the settlement before Earth could respond. They were wrong. Within hours, a fleet led by the UES Resolute jumped into the system. But this was not the same fleet that had faced the Vronics. This was a refined, battle-hardened force, their tactics honed to a razor's edge. Captain Drake wasted no time. The battle was swift and decisive. Human forces dismantled the coalition's fleet with the same ruthless efficiency they had shown against the Vronics. But this time there was no need to advance further. The message had already been sent. When the dust settled, Captain Drake transmitted a single message to the Galactic Council: echoing Ambassador Torres's earlier words. "We sought peace. You chose otherwise. Consider this your only warning." The galaxy watched, and the message was clear. Humanity was not a force to be trifled with. They had handled the Vronics. They had handled the Coalition. And if necessary, they would handle whatever came next. The balance of power had shifted. Humanity had not just survived, they had ascended. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The Vronics' homeworlds were nothing more than smoldering relics of their former dominance, but humanity wasn't finished. The Galactic Council had hoped that after the decimation of the Vronics, humans would retreat, satisfied with their brutal demonstration of power. They were wrong. Captain Elias Drake, now infamous across the stars, didn't see the destruction of the Vronics as an endpoint. It was a lesson, a message that had yet to be fully delivered. The galaxy had underestimated humanity for the last time. Back on Earth, the news of the Vronics' annihilation was met with quiet, grim approval. There were no parades, no celebrations. Humanity knew better than to rest on its laurels. For every Vronics, there were a dozen other species watching, waiting, calculating. The Council might have been silent, but their silence spoke volumes. The real threat wasn't the Vronics anymore, it was the delicate balance of galactic politics. Humanity had upset that balance, and the ripple effects were only beginning. Admiral Aisha Patel, head of Earth's Unified Defense Command, stood before a wall of holographic displays, each screen showing real-time data from various sectors of space. She watched as Council member species began mobilizing their fleets, not openly, but with enough subtlety that anyone paying attention could see the writing on the wall. "They're scared," Patel said, her voice a low murmur to her aides. "And scared people make dangerous decisions?" Ambassador Rachel Torres appeared on a secure channel, her face lit by the glow of data streams running across her console. "We need to move fast," she said without preamble. "The Council isn't going to sit back and let this slide. They're already framing us as a rogue element. If we don't control the narrative, they'll turn the entire galaxy against us." Patel nodded. "Then we control it. What's our next move?" Torres' eyes hardened. "We take the initiative. We show them that Earth doesn't just survive, we lead." Within hours, a new campaign was launched. But this wasn't just a military endeavor, it was psychological warfare on a galactic scale. Human diplomats reached out to smaller, fringe species, those neglected or exploited by the Council, offering protection, trade alliances, and, most importantly, a voice. Where the Council had ignored their pleas, humanity listened. It wasn't long before a coalition began to form. Species who had once kept their distance from humanity now found common ground and shared grievances. The humans weren't just conquerors, they were liberators to those who had long suffered under the Council's bureaucratic heel. Meanwhile, Captain Drake and his fleet didn't rest. Their next targets weren't hostile species but strategic locations: Council supply lines, communication hubs, and military outposts. Each operation was executed with surgical precision, minimizing casualties while maximizing disruption. The message was clear: humanity could strike anywhere, anytime, and there was nothing the Council could do to stop it. On the diplomatic front, Ambassador Torres addressed the Galactic Council once more. This time there was no request for assistance, no plea for unity. Her words were simple, direct, and chilling. "The era of human patience is over. We asked for help and you turned your backs. Now we lead. Stand with us or stand aside." The reaction was immediate. Some species rallied to humanity's banner, eager for change. Others dug in, unwilling to relinquish their power. The Council itself splintered, factions forming and alliances breaking under the pressure of humanity's relentless advance. But the true masterstroke came not from the battlefield, but from Earth's scientists and engineers. Utilizing technology salvaged from the Vronics and other species, they unveiled a new form of propulsion, one that rendered traditional space travel obsolete. Ships could now traverse vast distances in mere moments, giving humanity an unprecedented strategic advantage. With this new technology, Earth established outposts in regions of space previously thought unreachable. These outposts became beacons of human ingenuity and resilience, attracting more species to their cause. The galaxy watched in awe and fear as humanity reshaped the very fabric of interstellar politics and warfare. But not all were pleased. The remnants of the Vronics, scattered and leaderless, began to regroup, driven by a singular desire for revenge. They weren't the only ones. Other species, threatened by humanity's rise, formed a covert alliance, pooling their resources and knowledge to counter the human threat. Earth's leaders knew it was only a matter of time before this new coalition made their move. But humanity was ready. They had faced extinction before and emerged stronger. This time would be no different. As the first reports of coordinated attacks on human outposts came in, Admiral Patel convened a meeting of Earth's top military and political minds. The room was tense, the air thick with anticipation. "We knew this was coming," Patel began, her voice steady. "But we're not just going to defend ourselves. We're going to show them what happens when you try to put humanity back in a box." Ambassador Torres leaned forward, her eyes gleaming with determination. "It's time we remind them why they should have helped us when they had the chance." Captain Drake's voice crackled through the comm system, his tone as unyielding as ever. "Let's finish what we started." And with that, humanity launched a new offensive, one that would not only secure their place in the galaxy but redefine what it meant to be a power among the stars. The Council had hoped to contain humanity's fury. They had only succeeded in unleashing it. The aftermath of Earth's decisive campaign against the Vronics left the galaxy in a state of stunned silence. But for humanity, the war was far from over. The destruction of the Vronics' hive worlds had not only shattered an empire but also sent shockwaves through the Galactic Council. Now, Earth faced a different battle, one fought in the shadows of politics, alliances, and the growing fear that humanity had become too powerful to be controlled. Back on Earth, Ambassador Rachel Torres returned from the Council chambers, her expression as unreadable as ever. The global media hailed her as a hero, but she knew better. The Council's silence wasn't surrender, it was the calm before another storm. In orbit, the U.E.S Resolute and its fleet returned home, greeted by cheers and celebrations. But Captain Elias Drake felt no joy. The faces of his crew reflected the same unease in his heart. Victory had come at a price, a transformation that no one could undo. Humanity had shown the galaxy its teeth, but now they had to live with the consequences. The first sign of trouble came from the Velar Dominion, a powerful member of the Galactic Council. Their envoy, High Chancellor Veltorin, issued a statement condemning humanity's reckless aggression and calling for sanctions against Earth. The message was clear: humanity had overstepped its bounds and the Council would not tolerate it. But Earth wasn't about to back down. President Elena Chambers convened an emergency meeting with Earth's top leaders and military commanders. The room buzzed with tension as Ambassador Torres laid out the situation. "The Council fears us," she said simply. "They're scrambling to regain control, but they won't dare attack us directly. Not after what we did to the Vronics." "So what's their play?" Captain Drake asked, his voice low. "Isolation," Torres replied. "They'll cut us off from trade, technology, and alliances. They'll try to strangle us economically, hoping we'll weaken ourselves." But humanity had anticipated this. Protocol Omega wasn't just about military readiness, it was a comprehensive strategy for independence. Over the past decade, Earth had been quietly developing its own technologies, establishing self-sufficient colonies, and building alliances with species disillusioned by the Council's corruption. As the sanctions rolled in, humanity pivoted seamlessly. New trade routes opened with the Zelkar Confederacy and the Aetheri Nomads, both of whom had long chafed under the Council's dominance. Earth's industries adapted, and their technological innovations surged ahead, surpassing even the most advanced Council species. But the Council wasn't finished. In the shadows, they enlisted the Nyx Syndicate, a notorious group of mercenaries and assassins known for destabilizing governments and orchestrating coups. Their mission was simple: sow chaos within humanity's ranks and weaken Earth from within. The first strike came in the form of cyber attacks on Earth's infrastructure. Power grids failed, communication networks collapsed, and cities plunged into darkness. But humanity's resilience shone through. Within hours, emergency protocols restored order, and counter-hackers traced the attacks back to the Nyx Syndicate. Captain Drake, now promoted to Admiral, was tasked with dismantling the threat. The U.E.S Resolute led a covert operation into Syndicate-controlled space, employing the same ruthless tactics that had crushed the Vronics. The Syndicate's strongholds fell one by one, and their leaders were captured or eliminated. But the final blow came not from a battle but from a revelation. Ambassador Torres presented irrefutable evidence to the galaxy, proof of the Council's involvement with the Nyx Syndicate. The data leaks exposed years of corruption, backroom deals, and betrayals. The galaxy erupted in outrage. Member species of the Council began to defect, forming new alliances with Earth. The Council's authority crumbled as more and more worlds declared their independence. What had once been a unified governing body now splintered into factions, each scrambling to secure their own power. But humanity wasn't interested in ruling the galaxy. In a final address to the Galactic Council, or what was left of it, Ambassador Torres spoke with the same quiet menace that had first shaken the galaxy. "We never wanted to dominate," she said. "We wanted peace, cooperation, and respect. But when you pushed us, when you betrayed us, we showed you what happens when humanity handles things on its own. Let this be the last time we have to remind you." With that, Earth withdrew from the Council, leaving behind a fractured political landscape and a galaxy that would never forget the lesson they had learned. Back on Earth, life began to settle into a new normal. The scars of war and betrayal remained, but so did a renewed sense of unity and purpose. Humanity had proven itself not just as a survivor, but as a force to be reckoned with, a species that, when pushed, could reshape the very fabric of the galaxy. And somewhere, in the quiet corners of space, stories began to spread. Tales of the humans who had faced the galaxy's greatest threats and emerged stronger. Tales of a species that had walked away from the Galactic Council and, in doing so, had forever changed the course of history. Because when humans say, "Fine, we'll handle it," the galaxy listens. And now it would never forget. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to subscribe for more epic sci-fi adventures.